Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be recommending you romance book recs based on other books that you have read and liked. So basically, if you've read this book, you're going to like this one. So let's get right into the book recs. So the first rec I have is if you liked The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren. This is obviously like a super popular enemies to lovers vacation romance. If you liked this one, you will probably like Shipped by Angie Hockman. This one is a little bit different in that it is a workplace romance, sort of, because the two people in this book work for the same company and they kind of have to go on this cruise together to pitch a marketing campaign for this cruise. It's like a new cruise that their company is doing, and they kind of don't like each other. They end up on this cruise where they're just like not, feeling each other, and it's very similar to The Honeymooners. I feel like in like the setting, it's like very, vacation-y, and they don't like each other and they're kind of stuck together. Like they're obviously in this one literally stuck on a ship together. Like they don't have the option of really getting away from each other. And so I just think this one is really good. It's got a lot of little funny moments like The Honeymooners does. And I just think that they both sort of have like a similar like vacation-y rom-com enemies to lovers kind of vibe to them. Next, if you read and loved Birthday Girl by Penelope Douglas, you will probably love Love Unexpected by QB Tyler. Birthday Girl obviously follows a girl who ends up dating her boyfriend's dad. I feel like everyone has heard about this book. It's become super popular for that trope specifically. And it's sort of a little bit, obviously a little bit edgier, a little bit different. And Love Unexpected by QB Tyler is also very different. QB Tyler's books in general tend to be a little bit kind of out there. They're, situations that you probably wouldn't root for in real life, but when you read her books, you're like, no, this is great. And this is one of those books. This one follows a girl who actually ends up sort of falling for her stepfather. And before you're like, whoa, that's super weird, like I'd never read that, I promise you, like it's not as weird as it sounds, because this girl actually saw this guy before her mom did and was like, oh, him, like I'm gonna marry him, like he's my favorite kind of thing, like when she was a kid. And because of that, she never really looked at him, I guess, really in like a father figure sort of way. It was more just, that's the guy that I liked, and my mom got to him first. And her mom ends up passing away, and so now it's just the two of them living in this house. And the stepfather has kind of, I guess he's kind of been like aware that she's sort of had like a little crush on him, but obviously like he was with her mom, so he like didn't really think much of it. And he never formally adopts her or anything, so they're not technically like family at this point. Like there's nothing sort of keeping them together or anything like that. But they obviously, romance forms there. Like I said, this is a little bit crazier, but I feel like Birthday Girl is also a little bit crazy. So I think that this is like a good sort of comparison. I love all of QB Tyler's books. Like they're all really kind of out there. But this one in particular really reminded me of the vibes from Birthday Girl. Next is if you like Ugly Love by Colleen Hoover, you will probably like The Summer Proposal by Vi Keeland. This one is, I feel like I can't say much about Ugly Love because all of Colleen Hoover's books are like, if you talk about the plot, you're basically spoiling the whole book. But if you've read Ugly Love, you know what that one deals with. The Summer Proposal kind of follows a similar vibe. It's got a guy with the same kind of issues, I guess you could say, as the guy in Ugly Love. And so that vibe kind of, to me was very similar. The Summer Proposal follows a girl who basically decides she's going to be with this guy who is a hockey player just for the summer. Like that's it, that's all they're gonna have, and then they're both gonna move on with their lives. So basically like friends with benefits, but like just for the summer, I guess. And so that's kind of their plan, and like obviously that's not exactly how things end up going. Someone always catches feelings, and so this one like definitely kind of, reminded me of Ugly Love in sort of the how that was dealt with, I guess. Next is if you liked Bully by Penelope Douglas, you will probably like Little Lies by H. Hunting or Helena Hunting. This book follows, if you've read Bully, you know that it's obviously a bully romance. It follows Jared and Tate, who grew up neighbors and were like best friends, and then one year Jared goes away for the summer and comes back and is just like totally mean to her going forward, and they're always kind of picking on each other and just like, annoying each other until it turns into something more. Little Lies is sort of reminiscent of that, where these two were best friends when they were kids, like were inseparable. Their parents are friends, so they were always hanging out together. and they get a little bit older, and the boy kind of shuts the girl out, and he's like, I'm not going to be near you anymore, kind of thing. And he sort of starts like bullying her. Like, it's definitely got that sort of little aspect to it where he's like doing things purposely to like make her angry or make her not like him, and like different things. And it reminded me a lot of like the relationship between Jared and Tate, just with like how they were picking on each other and sort of their evolution from like childhood best friends to like bully to more. And I really loved this book. I gave this one 5 stars. It is super good. It's actually the spin-off to the Pucked and the All In series by Helena Hunting, but you don't have to read any of those books to just read this one. You could totally read it on its own, and it is so, so, so good. Next is if you liked There Are No Saints by Sophie Lark, you will probably like Still Beating by Jennifer Hartman. There Are No Saints follows a serial killer who ends up dating this girl who his like serial killer nemesis sort of tried to kill. There's like a whole thing with that. It follows, the serial killer who's also an artist, and this girl is also an artist as well. And it follows their relationship. If you liked this one, you will probably like Still Beating. Still Beating follows a girl who ends up getting kidnapped with her sister's fiance, and this guy that has kidnapped them is like obsessed with making his like victims fall in love with each other before he kills them. And so they're kind of trapped like in this guy's basement together, and like, things obviously happen. But I just found the vibes of these two very similar. They both sort of have that like crime element to them. They're both a little bit like darker and like creepier, I guess. And they just like, to me, they had very similar vibes, and I think that if you liked one, you'd probably like the other. Next is if you liked Always Only You by Chloe Leese, you'll probably like A Secret for a Secret by Helena Hunting. These two for me are so similar because they are both hockey romances where the guy is like the sweetest guy on the planet. Like, they are just like the ultimate like cinnamon roll like hockey playing dudes, and I think that's where the comparison for these two comes from me. These both are part of series, but they're also both standalone, so you could read them on their own, and that to me was like the major sort of connection between these two. Always Only You follows a guy on the hockey team who ends up dating the PR or social media like agent for the team, and he's just like super sweet. He's like in a Shakespeare club, like just like super like down to earth, like mellow kind of dude, and I really love that. And the guy in A Secret for a Secret is very similar as well. He's like, when all the guys go out to drink, he like orders milk. Like, he's just like the most like wholesome dude. Like, both of them are like, they're just like really cute like guys, and I thought that was funny that I found 2 hockey romances that sort of had that, because I feel like that's not all that common, but they definitely reminded me of each other with those vibes. Next is if you liked Corrupt by Penelope Douglas, you will probably like Fear Me by B.B. Reed. I feel like I always have to say this when I recommend Fear Me. This book is intense. It's not going to be for everyone. It is one of those books where it would be hard to even classify it as a romance because it's that crazy. Like, the guy in this is absolutely nuts. When I say he is possessive of the girl, I mean like to the point that he won't let her talk to other people. Like, it is like an extreme dark romance, I guess, where like it's like, it's dark, like it's not gonna be like, oh, they're so cute together kind of thing. Like, this guy is terrible to the girl throughout this entire book, but I feel like Corrupt sort of gave me those vibes, except for the fact that like it was toned down a little bit more, I think. So I think if you read Corrupt and you were like, okay, I could go further, then I think you'd probably like Fear Me. Like I said, I'm always so hesitant to like recommend that because I know Fear Me is not for everyone, but if you liked Corrupt and you are not worried about sort of going farther across the line, I guess, then Fear Me I do think is good for that. It's definitely like a darker bully, sort of super controlling guy kind of romance. Fear Me follows a guy who believes that this girl was sort of the reason he ended up in prison, and he's like, okay, you took a year of my life that I spent in prison, so now I'm gonna take a year of yours, like, basically, and make you miserable for a year. But he's like not like chill about it. Like, he seriously is out to make this girl miserable, and it's like super crazy. It is part of a series, and it does end on a cliffhanger, so like just be aware of that. You may want to read the whole series if you start the first one, but I do find that these two are very, very similar. Next is if you liked Love in Other Words by Christina Lauren, you will probably like Every Summer After by Carly Fortune. I feel like these books are very, very similar. They both follow childhood friends who, you know, grow up and end up getting together at like a lake house or a cottage or whatever, kind of like summer home sort of thing. And then there is something that causes a falling out between them, and now back in the present they are back in each other's presence again. And both books are written in the sense that you're following through them through the years, so you'll read one chapter in the present and then one that might be like 10 summers ago and one in the present and one 9 summers ago, and you kind of work your way towards what the big like falling out was between them. I did really like both of these. I think they're, like I said, both really similar vibes, very similar storylines. They're written in the same style. I just think like if you liked one, I don't know how you could not like the other one, because like I said, they're so similar. And so I think those two are definitely good, like, ones that go together. And lastly, if you liked Culty by Mariana Zapata, you'll probably like Everything for You by Chloe Leese. I was shocked how much this book reminded me of Culty when I read it. If you haven't read Culty, it follows a girl who ends up being coached by her childhood soccer idol, and he is a complete jerk, nothing like she thought when she was a kid, and she is just like not having it. And in Everything for You, it follows a guy who ends up becoming co-captain of his soccer team with the guy he used to idolize as a kid, and also, again, a soccer player, and sort of, you know, the idol being involved in them playing sort of situation just really reminded me of each other. They're both, like, start out kind of as enemies to lovers. I do think Everything for You is a little more enemies to lovers, because I do think in Culty they become best friends first, so it's sort of got the best friends to lovers thing going on. But they both definitely reminded me of each other with the soccer and like their idol being on their team and not really turning out to be how they thought they would. It just like gave me very similar vibes. Really love this one. It's got tons of good tropes in it. It's got age gap, it's got grumpy sunshine, enemies to lovers, sports, like all of the good tropes are in this book. So I highly recommend it. And so those are all of the books for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below. I do new book videos every single week, and I'll see you next time.